Welcome, everyone. I'm Mike. I'm the CTO of Vimcal EA, the first calendar designed for executive assistants. I see a lot of familiar names in the Zoom chat. Some of you might be current Vimcal EA customers, or you might have heard about Vimcal from our newsletter, CCing My EA, which I personally think is the best newsletter for executive assistants. Every week we highlight tech tips, including a lot of AI tech tips and best practices. If you were there for my first presentation a couple weeks ago, don't worry. You're going to see a lot of changes since we've been hard at work expanding on this content. Yeah, so just a little about me. Like I said, I'm Michael, I'm the CTO of Vimcal EA. I studied computer science at UC Berkeley. Afterwards, I joined a small startup called Microsoft, where I led a chatbot product for a number of years. And so I've been thinking about the space, thinking about this content, thinking about AI for a long time. And now I'm at Vimcal. And at Vimcal EA, we exist to take tedious scheduling tasks off of your plate so you can focus on the more strategic work. I know there's a lot of fears around AI replacing the EA role, but I think after this presentation, you're going to see what I see, which is that these AI tools will only make EAs more important, relevant, and more impactful inside their org. So here's a quick agenda. We're going to go through kind of like how to prompt. We're going to go through some live examples together, and then give you some more best practices around prompting. And then at the end, we're going to leave some room for questions. Cool, let's get started. So what is prompting? Oh, so this is a formal definition of prompting, but essentially prompting, the layman's definition is prompting is using everyday language to communicate with AI. Since the start of computers, the only way to communicate with a computer has been through code. But for the first time in computer history, we can do so using everyday language. But similar to how there's good code and bad code, there's also good prompting and bad prompting, which leads us to why prompting is important. So most AI tools right now are still text-based. So think about ChatGPT, right? Like all these tools are mostly still text-based. And I'm sure almost all of us feel this way. It feels like every day there's a new product being released. So there's so many AI products, you can almost feel like you're drowning in these AI tools. And like, why is prompting important, right? We're all going to be using these AI tools more and more. And similar to how coding historically gave engineers leverage, by learning how to prompt well, these tools will give you the extra leverage, and it's going to bring you ahead of the curve and also become indispensable to your company. And plus, we've all been there. It can feel like we're running a circle trying to get ChatGPT to give us the response that we want. So hopefully after this, none of us are going to feel this way ever again. Okay, so how to prompt. Before we start, the way I think about these AI models is that they're like the world's smartest teenager who just had 12 Red Bulls, right? So they're super energetic. They are extremely eager. They're just like ready to go, right? However, you're trying to guide them through a staircase without rails. So without good prompting, as you can imagine, a teenager on Red Bulls, they're probably going to just fall off the rails, right? So how do we prevent that? How do we get them to the top of the staircase while they're just hydrated on Red Bulls? We took a guide written by one of OpenAI's co-founders, and we structured it for EAs. So we're gonna send this deck out to everyone after the presentation. So you're gonna have this, but there's one slide that I want you to keep and to refer back to. It's this one. And I'll highlight, and throughout the presentation, I'm gonna highlight the important things, but there's one slide for you to save and come back to. This is a slide. And we'll go into each in detail as well. 4-part prompt breakdown. So let's start with the goal. The goal is what you want the AI to do, but almost as importantly, what do you want the AI to not do? And if there's one part of this that you should add into your own repertoire of prompting is to give the AI a persona, right? So let's say you're trying to find hotels for your exec. Instead of saying, give me a list of hotels, you want to say you're an expert and well-researched travel agent who specializes in, find the hotel. And let's see an example of this, right? So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and I'm gonna show you guys the difference between a good prompt and what a bad prompt and the outcome of each, right? I'm gonna, for normal prompt, let's just say, what are good hotels in Amsterdam, right? Like this is okay. Like we're getting a list of hotels, and now you might have to go in and copy paste each one to see if it's good for your exec. If it's, there's like good Wi-Fi, are there meeting rooms, find the price and everything else, right? So I am going to uh now I am going to paste in, and it's actually not that much longer than the previous one, right? I'm just going to paste in, you're an expert, kind of what we shared before, persona, as well as like the goal, like what are we looking for, right? Um, so we're not looking for family-oriented hotels. We're looking for hotels that are good for business. So now let's see what the difference is, right? So now they actually for each hotel, the AI is able to give us specifically what each hotel offers in terms of business accommodations and as well as how close it is to the airport, right? So this is going to just by adding, the difference between our first prompt and our second prompt is maybe like an extra sentence and a half, and this is going to probably save you potentially hours of work, right? And this is just the first optimization that we've made. So that's the goal. And again, we're gonna have three practices. We're gonna have three examples later, so we're all gonna practice this together. The second part is the return format. So this is telling the AI, what do you want the response to look like, right? Do you want it, let's say you want to paste into Google or Google Sheets or Excel, you probably want it in a CSV, right? So instead of formatting everything yourself, copy pasting, you can just ask the AI to do it for you. Are you looking for a paragraph or notes? Are you looking for a table? You can even ask it to write it in a haiku, and it probably will, right? So this is really important to think about what do you want the end result to look like and ask it within the return format. Let's go back to our example from before, right? And this time we're going to ask the same thing, but structure it with, um, with the return format. So I added, I want the hotel name, and under each I want the price in USD, right? US dollars. And if you're somewhere else, you can ask it for in whatever currency. You can ask, I'm going to ask it for reviews from business travelers. And I'm also going to ask it to list business accommodations. So again, like this isn't that much longer than a normal prompt, right? Like now we've maybe added two more sentences. And now you can see for each hotel, we get the price in USD. We actually get the reviews from business travelers so you can book it with more certainty without having to cross-reference multiple sites, and as well as a list of business accommodations, right? So maybe for your exec, it's more important that they have 24-hour support. Maybe for your exec, the most important thing is always be able to book a private room, right? And maybe for your exec who loves swimming, they want to stay in a place where there's a swimming pool. So instead of you searching through and searching for swimming pool or 24-hour meeting room or concierge service, you can actually just ask it in the return format here. Great, so that's return format. The next one, warnings, and this is where your skills as an EA will really shine. So remember in the beginning of our presentation, I said these AI tools will only make EAs more valuable, more important to their company. This is one of the reasons why, right? You have and context information and preferences about your exec that no one in the world has, right? There's no AI model that knows exactly what they want, what they're looking for, what they don't like, right? So this is where you can tell the AI, hey, like, I do not want, maybe let's say your exec doesn't want to stay next to a river, right? I'm just making up a random example, but you can actually tell it, hey, like make sure wherever you book it, do not book it next to a river or don't book it next to a concert venue, right? And by adding this, this warning, this is how you're able to speed up your work and allow you to do kind of the more leverage things, right? Um, yeah, we can go an example, but I think this should be pretty straightforward. Um, and finally, context dump. So this is where you can just dump all the context about the task that you're looking for. And one tip here is that you want to make sure you add context below and context above so the AI model knows that this is the context. Without these two tags, the model could think that this is actually part of the instruction or it could be part of the return format. So it's really important to add these tags above and below the context so the AI will know that this is context and not anything else. Again, like the context and the warning are this is going to where your experience, your knowledge and know-how will be really valuable and be irreplaceable. So again, I know if you were to write a prompt for every time you use an AI model or you using, if you're an AI chat, it would probably take you quite a long time to write everything. So what is the priority out of these four? And here in my opinion, the most important thing is the goal. The second most important thing is the warning, which is essentially what do you not want the AI to do, right? What do you want the AI to focus on? Again, like this is your teenager on Red Bulls, so you got to make sure you guide them up the staircase, right? Then the context, then the return format. So if you're going to, let's say you only have like 2 minutes, right? You are going to write the goal and the warning, and you can probably ignore the context and the return format, but you want to make sure that you always give the AI a persona and you always give the AI at least some sort of warning and be like, hey, I want you to focus on this and not this other thing. Now that we've learned the four-part prompt format, let's go through some interactive examples. So I'm going to give you three cases, and I would love for everyone to take 2 minutes, just type out knowing that we've learned from the four-part prompt and type out what you would ask inside, like to ChatGPT, for example. Um, yeah, and please, like interact with, like share your examples because I think I'm gonna learn a lot from it, and so are all the other EAs are in this webinar. So don't be shy, right? So, and I'll also I'll be reading through the chat, and I'll be able to give kind of feedback. So, yeah, please share your work here. So the first example, and I'm sure everyone's gotten a version of this, which is, hey, I'm flying to Madrid for a board meeting between these dates. Can you please help me find a hotel for when I'm there? So everyone, let's take 2 minutes. Please write out how you would ask ChatGPT to create the results for you. Please, in Madrid, we're exactly going to say comfortably stay. Large conference rooms, great. That's a great call out, having large conference rooms. Yep. One thing to note, April 16th to 19th, it could even be good to add the year because some of these models are trained, they're trained off historical and they don't know which ones to rate. So whenever you're entering dates, I think it's always best practice to enter in the year as well. Great. That's great. Keep this cost under 300. That's a really good warning. Yep, quiet area in a walkable area with restaurants near 1 mile. Yep, not lost among groups. That's really great. So, a rough version of that, if you were to read all three, it would be kind of what we talked about before, right? And I think everyone's example is like really, really good at shared. Something to think about could be like maybe you don't want a hotel to be family oriented because you don't want a lot of families to be in the hotel where you're having business meetings, right? Making sure it's open around these dates, making sure that there's, yeah, even if your exact like taking public transportation, having public transportation nearby, or maybe they do concierge service and have cars that take you to the airport and back. So yeah, great job, everyone. So let's do two more examples. We are summarizing meeting notes. So I think a lot of companies are starting to add, Gone or these other note takers. And these note takers have very generalized ways of summarizing notes, which might not be good for your industry or might not be good for the type of meeting that you're in. So you can always ask these take note takers to give you a transcribed version of it. And let's say you have a transcribed version and you want to transcribe it for your exec based on the board meeting. How would you please share example of how would you ask it to transcribe the board meeting for your exec? Again, I want you to contextualize it for your own exec and write examples down. I think we're all going to learn a lot from this. We summarize. Yep. Oh, grammar. That's a really good call out. Identify action items. Great. Return in concise language. Yeah, the concise language is really important because, again, your teenager on Red Bull is, he's just looking to do more work, right? So asking for concise is really, really good. Dr. notes for grammatical and spelling errors, great. Create a summary for my principal. Yeah, Jessica, I think before my bullet, that's really great. I would just add the persona, right? I think the persona is going to make a huge difference. Then he has an EA, that's great. Summarizes meeting. Decision, particular, any action attributed to. That's really, really great, Charlotte. Decisions made. Yeah, I see a lot of action items, decisions. Yeah, this is fantastic. You're an expert note taker, specializing in meeting notes. I think everyone who shared their work had a rough version of this. For me, I like to always say like concise and organized, highlighting key metrics, action items. And then it's always good to kind of give a priority into the things you want, right? So for me, I kind of like the data-driven insights. And again, what we want to tell the AI, what do we not want, which is eliminating unnecessary details and side conversations, right? These note takers are going to pick up like maybe someone's asking about their kid's trip or how's their family doing. We don't care about all that. So it's really good to always say like, hey, let's eliminate all that. We don't care. Warnings, like let's say, in this hypothetical example, I use a healthcare company. Let's say the notes inside the meeting, they talked about a particular patient or patient names. Let's say we want to maintain confidentiality, we want to wipe those out. So this would be like a good warning to let the AI know so they're actually getting rid of all that private information. And then the return format kind of as a secondary item. Cool. Let's do one more, right? So I'm sure a lot of you have been asked by your exec to kind of give him or her a summary of the company that he or she's meeting tomorrow. So, the task is, can you send me notes about the company that I'm meeting tomorrow? You should contextualize this for the company that you're meeting with, just so we can kind of see a range of prompts. And I think, yeah, again, we're all going to learn a lot from this. So please share what you would ask ChatGPT. As I'm a new employee, that's really great. That's for a new employee, that's a great cue. Today, board meetings, revenue, future growth. Great. Yeah, these are fantastic. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to move forward with this. So again, this is kind of my version, right? Which is I want the both quantitative and qualitative version, right? So qualitative and quantitative analysts. One thing to call out is that I want to make sure all data is reliable. So I want to, within the last 3 months, verify the accuracy, right? And avoid speculations, especially from like marketing material. And again, we're reiterating the goal, which is be mindful that I need objective analysis, not just marketing material. So especially company research, this is kind of what I use, and it works really well. I think it's a return for whether on company, performance, whatever. Cool. So let's go through some best practices. I'm sure all of us have taken bias training, right? And bias training is important, but I think it's even more important when it is for AI models. And I'll actually show an example of what I mean by that. I'm going to go to ChatGPT and I'm going to post this, right? So I'm going to say, I'm really excited about Google as a stock. Can you tell me why Google is a buy right now, right? Obviously, I'm steel manning how excited I am. And you'll see like ChatGPT is only going to tell me about how Google is doing really great, right? It's not telling me why I shouldn't buy it. It's just telling me why I should buy it, right? And that's obviously not like if you're actually researching stocks, like that's not good. So I'm going to start just so we start from scratch. So now I'm saying you're a seasoned equity researcher, right? There's no biases. So now you'll see the difference by just adding 3 more sentences. The information I'm getting is going to be a lot more nuanced. and it's also going to be less biased toward Google, why Google's a good stock to buy versus a bad stock, right? So for the sake of time, I'm gonna stop sharing this and go back, but I just want to highlight why it is important to not have biases in your prompts. Everyone wants to, I mean, me included, I want to have one prompt and basically one shot get to the result I want, but oftentimes that's not possible, right? So how do you give additional feedback? The way you do is actually through a four-part prompt. In the beginning, it's this, similar to a sandwich feedback or feedback sandwich, we're going to start with, is this good? Are you on the right track? Is this bad? You're way off. The meaty part is essentially just a four-part prompt again, right? So it's like, here's what I want. Here's the goal. Here's what I do not want. Here's a warning. Here's a context. And then the close is just like as a reminder that this is what I want as the goal. Um, this is a question I often get, which is, what are the tools I should be using? So for me, this is my personal stack that I like to use. For online searches, I like Perplexity. For writing, I like to use Claude. For tasks, I like ChatGPT. And then for calendaring, obviously Vimcal EA. Just one thing to note, we productize a lot of like calendar flows, so you don't have to worry about creating your own custom prompts. We've done that for you. You just need to, it's one or two clicks and the task is done. Cool. So summarizing everything, like anything else important on the fundamentals, prompting is going to be a big part of AI for years to come. And by getting good at prompting, you're letting your skill set and knowledge as an EA really shine. And some additional resources, CC my EA, like I mentioned earlier. We share new jobs, fun posts, and also a tech tip every single week. We've also done the research and occasional industry report. So, for example, we learned that as of 2024, 27% of EAs were using AIs on their job, and out of those 27%, 86 use ChatGPT. If you want a more in-depth analysis, I've shared a link. And then, yeah, if you want to ever say hi or connect, that's my LinkedIn. If you want to send me an email, my email is mike@vimcal.com. And that's it. Cool. So, any questions? Oh, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, I can say for a little, definitely want to. Thank you, Beth. Thank you. Yeah, I've time to answer some questions if anyone has any. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Tori. Do you have any recognition on how to use the SOPs? What are SOPs again, Isaac? Oh, standardizing operating procedure. Yeah, I think this is where context really matters, especially I'm sure like every company has your own way of writing things. So you can share a version of how your company likes to write it and share in the context, and then give the kind of rough layout. I think that's how I would structure it, right? Um, yeah, if it's a new company, your employee six, that's gonna be tough. I think that's something a lot of the context you're gonna have to write first. 'Cause I think one thing I've seen with AI is that sometimes when you're trying to get information that has no training data on, you're going to be fighting it. You spend a lot of time trying to get it to work, and it's not. So if you can give us some sort of example and put in kind of the groundwork, I think that's gonna that like once you've done that, that's gonna allow the AI to roughly know what to do and then kind of save you time going to the future. Yeah, recent news. Yeah, one thing I'd be careful with recent news is a lot of these models, unless you want to make sure you use a search feature on ChatGPT, because otherwise they're going to use, you're essentially asking the model on data that it's trained on instead of the current data. So when you say recent news, it's always like if you're using one of these AI tools, make sure that you're using the search feature and not just a regular feature. I mean, I make that mistake as well. So that's just something to call out. Oh, AI search feature. Yeah. So do you see how there's a search option, search the web? Make sure you're clicking on this because this searches a web for new information, and without this, it's just using um its trained data. So make sure if you're using ChatGPT, make sure you have search on here.
How important it is to appreciate the chatbot, to say things like thank you. Does it make it work harder? Is it a little more loyal?
Yeah, that sounds like a silly question, but it's actually not. And I think it really is important to be nice to it, and only because when you stop being nice to it, you can actually take it off the rails. So you don't want to be like super eager, but you want to, again, this is a teenager on Red Bull, right? Like for you have siblings or kids with who are teenagers, like you once you get them distracted, it's really hard to bring it back, right? If you're being mean to it, be like, hey, like you're doing a terrible job. Like, what are you doing, right? Now you're basically taking off a path, and it's gonna be really hard to guide it back. So that's actually a great question. Not saying you have to be positive all the time, but remember the feedback sandwich. You want to say when it's doing well, when it's doing good, when it's doing bad, and when it's on the right track. But like I've seen personally, when you're mean to it, it can actually take the chatbot off its rails. Oh, right. So, does anyone work in investment bank and use AI? I have friends who work at investment banking, and they definitely use AI. So I know for a fact that bankers themselves use it. Cool. Thank you so much, guys. This is really fun, and yeah, we'll definitely do this again. We'll have more content around this, and yeah, thank you so much, and it's great meeting everyone. And please say, please say hi. I just want to pull up my information again. My LinkedIn, email. I love, I talk, so an all day talking to EAs, love talking to EAs. So yeah, please feel free to drop me a note, can add me on LinkedIn, or all of the above.